He's young.
Have a very special bond. Steve is alive today thanks to Thelma's decision to donate her dying husband's organs. But until recently, the pair had never had any contact. Even if both parties agree, the law forbids the release of the donor's personal details or the recipients of their organs. But Steve and Thelma were determined. They embarked on a 5-year journey to find each other. Chris Simon was there as they met for the first time.
I've got Ron's lungs, and they're part of my body now. He's given me a gift. I feel they're my lungs. I'm looking after them for it, and they've given me life.
Straight away I wanted to know the person that received the lungs and say, yes, that was the right decision. As soon as I signed that paper, I thought Ron was taken out of my hands. You know, like what happened after that, I had no right to know about.
For the past 5 years, Thelma Myers has not only been grieving the loss of her husband Ron from a brain hemorrhage, she's also been racked with guilt over her decision to donate his lungs for transplant. She couldn't be told Steve Williams had received them, and they had saved his life.
Because that guilt's there from the time I walked out of that hospital.
So you really wondered whether you'd made the right decision on Ron's behalf?
As a health professional, under the law as it stands at the moment, we are not able to give any identifying information about either the donor family or the recipient.
Jessica Raymond, transplant coordinator for the Red Cross, is bound by the Human Tissue Act. That precludes the distribution of any identifying information on the organ donor or its recipient to avoid undue emotional trauma. As a result, Thelma remained in the dark, not knowing that Stephen Williams was desperate to locate her and thank her for his second chance at life.
The transplant came just in time, although I was on the list for 27 months.
So at that stage, I mean, without a transplant, you were going to die?
Yes.
Last July, Ruth started going downhill as her new lungs developed another disease.
After suffering from CF, cystic fibrosis, Steve Williams' sister Ruth had died after a lung transplant. Now he was dying from CF, waiting for his. Try and describe that moment when the phone finally rang and you were told you were on the top of the list and it was going to happen that day.
The emotions were racing, like the fear, the excitement.
Dashed from Canberra to Sydney by helicopter, Steve received Ron Myers' lungs. And despite suffering a stroke on the operating table, he was breathing on his own within hours.
My recovery was really good. Like, I remember day 4, they had me in the gym on the exercise bike. By day 11, I was out of hospital.
It wasn't long before Steve was wondering who it was that had saved his life. He sent a letter via his transplant coordinators, the Red Cross, to be forwarded to the donor family, saying,
I don't want you to ever feel that you've done the wrong thing, because if you could see what it's done for me, you would know that you've done the right thing.
Thelma Myers never received that letter. For the Red Cross, there was too much information revealing Steve's identity. She remained ignorant until he wrote again 2 years later. His full recovery had allowed him to compete in 10-pin bowling at the World Transplant Games, in which he won a gold medal. Despite most of his letter being censored by the Red Cross, Thelma was able to play private investigator.
I rang telephone directories and asked if they knew anything about transplant games.
The game's organisers knew immediately who Thelma was inquiring about. They rang Steve with Thelma's number.
Within 5 minutes, Steve was on the phone to me.
It was a very emotional phone call.
And we were both shaking and crying.
One thing she said to me, it has made it all worth it hearing from me, and it's made her decision easier, that she felt she's made the right decision.
You find that the system definitely is a hindrance.
Graham Harrison from Transplant Australia uses detective work to circumnavigate the legislation, helping to reunite donor families if both parties agree to accepting the emotional consequences.
They might not like what they see in the recipient who's received their loved one's organ because of race, family background, colour, any of those issues. On the other side, the recipients might be so overly thankful of having life that they might be dredging up the sad loss.
Finally me.
But Steve and Thelma always wanted to find each other. They just weren't allowed to. So, after 5 long years, Today Tonight brought them together.
That's your puppies.
Yeah.
Thelma was introduced to Steve and Judith's twin 1-year-old sons, Matthew and Jack, who, thanks to Ron and Thelma's gift, also got their chance at life.
I want you to have that.
And the gold medal Steve won at the Transplant Games, he presented to Thelma.
What it says is, dear Thelma and family, thank you for your precious gift of life. Love, Stephen and family.
It just makes me feel that Ron's gift was so worthwhile, you know, and he would be looking down smiling, that's for sure.
I never had any future, and now I can say I have, and I'm living.
I'd like to make a toast to a reunion that was always meant to be.
A lovely story. Chris Simmons reporting there. Stay with us. I'll be back after.